As Sarah made her way through the aisles of the local supermarket, the manager, Richard, gave her a judgmental glance, assuming that her wheelchair meant she had difficulty reaching products. "Need any help?" he asked, his voice tinged with impatience. Sarah felt the sting of disrespect, realizing that this was not an experience shared by other customers. Deciding that this treatment was unacceptable, Sarah resolved to make Richard understand the gravity of his prejudice. Meanwhile, Richard took pleasure in his managerial position, cherishing the perceived authority it afforded him. However, he remained blissfully unaware of his shortcomings, ignoring online reviews that criticized his behavior. Sarah, being new in town, was not the Karen he stereotypically labeled customers who needed assistance. He only saw a wheelchair, anticipating a demanding customer who might disrupt his staff's efficiency. Sarah herself had just been casually rolling around her wheelchair through the store. So far, she had just been exploring the aisles, searching for a specific item. She noticed a man tailing her, dressed in a uniform. He cast her a disdainful glance, making her uneasy. His inquiry, "Miss, can I help you with anything?" was accompanied by a barely concealed eye roll. Startled by his disrespect, Sarah, unused to such treatment, politely declined his offer. Richard, the man in uniform, offered a saccharine smile and presented a reacher grabber, an assistive device resembling a hand-shaped claw. Sarah, bewildered, questioned, "Isn't it a store employee's responsibility to assist customers with locating or retrieving items?" He hesitated, searching for a suitable term. "Certainly, but someone in your situation might require additional aid. We simply can't be personal shoppers." He remained oblivious to the potential consequences of his insensitive remarks. Furious, Sarah's face flushed. "How dared he speak to me that way?" she thought. "Sir, what is your name?" she inquired, her voice laced with anger. Unfazed, Richard, the store manager, introduced himself as Richard Williams. Sarah took a deep breath, battling her rising anger. "Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. Williams," she responded calmly. Undeterred, she wheeled away, determined not to let his harassment deter her right to shop freely. Witnessing Richard's interaction with Sarah, several employees exchanged uneasy glances. The usual hum of the supermarket was replaced by a tense silence. In the break room, a buzz stirred as employees huddled in hushed groups, discussing the incident. Jenny, a veteran employee known for her empathy, approached Sarah, her heels clicking a determined rhythm. "Sarah, I had to say something after seeing how Richard treated you. His behavior was unacceptable and doesn't reflect the majority of us here," Jenny said with genuine concern. "He was out of line," she paused, meeting Sarah's gaze. "And that's not all. Many employees, myself included, have concerns about Richard's leadership," she said, lowering her voice and glancing around. "We feel pressured, even bullied, and constantly on edge, afraid of making mistakes." A wave of emotions washed over Sarah, while empathy for the employees grew. So did her gratitude for Jenny's courage. Taking Jenny's hand, she said, "Thank you for sharing this, Jenny." With a newfound resolve, Sarah unlocked her phone, her finger hovering over a specific contact. Taking a deep breath, she pressed call, ready to take action. A familiar voice answered the phone. "Hello." Sarah steadied herself and began, "I had a troubling experience at your store today." She recounted her encounter with Richard, objectivity battling with simmering emotions. The listener grew increasingly concerned as Sarah spoke. "Thank you, but this isn't just about me," Sarah said, her voice firm despite its gentleness. "It's about fostering a workplace with respect and decency." Sarah nodded, drawing silent resolve. "Thank you," she whispered, hanging up with hope for a better future for the store's employees. As Sarah continued shopping, employees offered gestures of support. The deli clerk slicing fresh meat, a stock boy offering assistance with high shelves from behind a display. Richard observed, his eyes narrowing with each friendly interaction Sarah received. He felt a need to regain control, discreetly following Sarah as she weaved through aisles and peeked from corners. The chime of the door announced the arrival of a distinguished gentleman in a sharp suit, his aura commanding respect. He scanned the store, his gaze meeting Richard's. Richard, strutting towards the visitor, puffed out his chest. "Mr. Williams, the manager, at your service," he announced with a touch of arrogance, picturing a wealthy customer. The gentleman, however, remained impassive. "Mr. Williams," he acknowledged, offering a handshake, "I'm here on an important matter." A hushed crowd gathered, whispering about the visitor's identity. Mr. Harrison, as he introduced himself, cleared his throat, demanding attention. His words were a hammer blow to Richard's inflated ego. "I'm James Harrison," he announced, "the owner of this entire supermarket chain." Richard's face drained of color. "I've received concerning reports about the store's management, particularly regarding treatment of staff and customers." Each word hammered further. "It's crucial," Mr. Harrison emphasized, "that everyone in our establishments feels respected and valued." He locked eyes with Richard. "A disturbing incident involving Sarah earlier today has been brought to my attention. Care to explain yourself?" Under Harrison's firm gaze, Richard stammered, trapped by the watchful eyes. He attempted to justify himself. I thought she was," his voice cracked, excuses sounding hollow even to his own ears. "Trying to exploit the store," he finished lamely. Harrison sighed, a flicker of empathy crossing his face. "Let me tell you about Sarah," he said gently. "She overcame a life-altering accident, enduring grueling therapy to be here today." He looked at Sarah, respect gleaming in his eyes. "She embodies strength and grace." His gaze returned to Richard, resolute. "Considering the situation and your behavior, I must relieve you of your managerial duties, effective immediately." A collective gasp swept through the crowd as Richard's face paled, the full impact of his actions crashing over him like a tidal wave. This store wasn't merely a business. It was a mirror reflecting the values of the community it served. "Let this be a lesson," declared Harrison, his voice resonating through the store. "This establishment stands for compassion, respect, and service, not discrimination. A title grants no right to belittle others. We must embody the change we seek, setting an example for all." Inspired by Sarah's resilience and Harrison's determination, the staff burst into applause. With Richard no longer in charge, the store was poised for a transformation. Revitalized, the employees embraced a new ethos of inclusivity and kindness. Sarah's ordeal had ignited a spark, not only altering the manager's destiny, but also uplifting the store's spirit. Weeks later, Sarah returned to the supermarket. This time, the atmosphere was welcoming. Friendly smiles greeted her from every corner. A young boy, encouraged by recent events, shyly offered to help her reach a high shelf. As Sarah placed her groceries on the checkout counter, the cashier, who had witnessed her encounter with Richard, winked and said, "Welcome back. It's great to see you here." Sarah smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. This was more than just a store. It was a place where she felt acknowledged, respected, and part of a larger community. It was a community that cared, and it all began with one voice refusing to remain silent.